Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to another Nudelberg Daily Huddle, where we are here to do one thing, and that is focus on finding a way to get 1% better. Good morning to the Huddle crew as they roll in. Nick Mao, Greg Goldstein, Melissa K. Green, Jody, Jonathan, Jamie, and of course, the first one here this morning was Eddie Dikes, because I'm sure he is excited to see his son step into the spotlight today. I'm excited about getting to have Jesse Dikes, Eddie's son and heir to the throne at Weston Jewelers, on the show with us to talk about what it's like growing up in an entrepreneurial family and a retail family and some great stuff. There is Steve Nudelberg, who is also here this morning. And so, speaking of Steve, we have to make the announcement that it is none other than the great Jake Nudelberg's birthday today. 25 years ago, I was almost 12 years old, and I got the call that they were headed to the hospital and my brother was being born. And it's been a great 25 years ever since then. I put together a little bit of a montage for his birthday. But before we can get to that, let's get to some wake-up music. We're going to come back. We're going to celebrate Jake's birthday. Then we're going to introduce Jesse, and we're going to have a great Nudelberg Daily Huddle. So let's wake up.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up. Come on, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in there. No more about the thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on.
So Jake and I have a very interesting relationship, 11 and a half years apart. I wrote about it this morning in my LinkedIn post, but that kind of spacing creates a very unique relationship. Blurs that line of mentor and brother and friend and coach. And, sometimes you're competing against each other, but at times in your life, you're so far apart in age that you're not really competing. You're more in like totally different phases of life. So I feel very, very, very fortunate to have been around to help Jake navigate his life, to have him help me navigate mine, and to have him as my right-hand man. Shay, do you want to wish Jake a happy birthday?
I do. Happy birthday, Jake. He probably needed some help navigating Vegas yesterday.
Which I'm sure that it looked like the speaking engagement went great, or the training went great with
Training day. We'll give Pops his little.
There it
his little
is.
plug.
So there's Dad with the ad media group yesterday. Jake was there taking the pictures, so he's not in the photo. But awesome.
Shay ran point from 2,500 miles away because had a little technical difficulty. So.
I love it. Adapt, adjust, and overcome. And that's how we just get it done, right? It doesn't matter what's happening, where it's happening. We find a way to get it done. But so, Jakester, happy birthday to you. Here is a montage for you to celebrate your day.
It didn't. I don't know why it didn't download properly.
Oh,
sorry.
Jake.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I don't know why it didn't download properly.
Oh, so Jake, we had a really nice montage.
We do.
All of these pictures from all of these other, from all this whole time frame that we've been together in life. And now we're not going to get to show it because it didn't download properly. So
hold on. Let me see if it should do it really quick, hopefully.
Let's see if we can adapt, adjust, and overcome. In the meantime, for anybody who was paying attention to sports, there was crazy movement in the NBA last night. Kevin Durant ends up in Phoenix. Just crazy stuff happening. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of great things going on, new teams. I don't really follow the NBA like that, but I'm a part of a group chat with Jake and his friend Aiden, who keep me educated on the topic. So I know it was crazy, and the amount of money that's being spent on the talent and the way people are moving around in the NBA is absolutely nuts. Shay, do we have the video?
It is processed. Should be here momentarily, hopefully. I'm hoping.
Well, other than that, I'm super excited to have Jesse Dikes on the show this morning, and I'll basically do his intro now before we get to Jake's video. But Jesse and I are very similar. Grew up with dads as entrepreneurs, grew up with an expectation, I would say, to go into the business, but found a love and a passion for it on our own, and now have the opportunity to work together with our family. So I'm excited to have Jesse on the show. We're going to celebrate Jake's birthday now with this montage. Then
it's uploading, and I will hit it.
Welcome Jesse to the show.
Yeah,
let's go.
It is uploading now, so hold on 1 second.
Oh, we're still not ready. You're killing me, Shay.
Well, it downloaded properly this time, so my apologies, Jake, and everybody in the huddle. So, I'm a one-man show. I can only.
Jay, I appreciate the comment on way to fill the air. I'm finding time here. You know what I mean? And so yesterday was a great day for us. I had some great coaching calls. Shout out to Kim Opdyke, who is a member of the Dying Tech crew, which is a company inside of Sandy Alexander. They do menus and marketing for large chain restaurants. Super cool stuff that they do. And we had a great conversation about nightly preparation for morning routine and how having the right routine at night sets you up for a good morning the next day. That was a great conversation.
Rock and roll.
Now, Shay, we're ready. Excellent. Happy birthday, Jake. Here's your montage.
Someone who stands for good could not have a day that would. He said, aside from recognition, this should never be. Just because some cannot see, the dream is plenty, that they should make it.
It was
beautiful. Happy birthday, Jakester. A great montage.
We just had to make Jesse sweat in the back.
Being a young boy. So give me Jesse's walk-up music, and then we will welcome him to the show. Let's go, Jesse Dikes. Let's get him on. Jesse Dikes, welcome to the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Do you have any idea why we would have chosen that music for your walk-up music?
I was just about to say, thank you for having me first, but I honestly have no idea where that video is from. It's probably embarrassing that I don't, but I have no idea. Also, that montage, why was there no embarrassing pictures of Jake?
Yeah, well, there was one. I spared him, and I tried to keep it more recent. I did spare him. There was one from when we played Miami down here where his hair looks like Peter Brady when he was going through this interesting phase in high school where he just decided not to cut his hair. Okay. And he looked exactly like Peter Brady. So I spared him the rest of it, though. But that music, everybody's crazy about a sharp-dressed man because you, sir, are forever dressed to the nines, as sharp as could be all the time. So Jesse Dikes, heir to the throne of Weston Jewelers, welcome to the Nudelberg Huddle. Give us your story. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got to being where you are now.
Yeah, so I grew up in Weston, so I'm from around this area.
How much older than Jake are you? You're not 25. How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay, you're 26. Yeah. So you're a year older than Jake. So you were close to Jake in school.
Yeah, so we actually knew each other in middle school and high school. I think that we first kind of got to know each other through flag football.
Okay.
He was a year younger, so obviously I picked on him a little bit when it came to we were opposing quarterbacks. That was like the peak of my athletic.
Your athletic career.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where we began to become friends. But yes, I went to Indiana for college, and then after that,
What'd you study at Indiana?
I studied marketing and advertising, which,
Okay.
as you know, doesn't really apply much to what I do on a day-to-day basis here.
Sure.
But I had a minor of small business management through Kelly.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I, started to understand the business aspect of everything here.
So let's talk a little bit about growing up before you went to college, though, right?
Yeah.
Like you grew up inside of a family. You're third generation entrepreneur, right? Your grandfather started this. Your father took it over. Now you're involved with it. What was it like growing up in that kind of family? Did you grow up inside of a retail store? Were you around the business all the time? What was it like being a kid in that environment?
Yeah, well, my dad actually started Weston Jewelers himself. He worked with my grandpa in the jewelry business. It was, more pawn shop related, different types of jewelry.
Mhm.
My dad always had the idea of going into luxury and high end and stuff like that. So when I was a kid, I would actually go to the store quite a bit. And I think when I was either like 5 or 6, I would go behind the counters and start to pretend to like sell to my mom. She always, thought that I would be a great fit for the business. And obviously this was something that was kind of set for me, growing up. My dad always wanted me to get involved. As I got older, though, I never really went to the store as much as I probably should have, because I would have learned a lot more.
Well, did you know, like as a kid, you're growing up there, you're a little kid, you go to work with your parents because you have to, and you're there,
Right.
and you
Right.
kind of get indoctrinated into it. Like I remember going to all of the retail stores for ABC with my dad,
Yeah.
and like playing with the toy beep, or like, the model beepers and the model cell phones. And like, to me, they were toys, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And like, I was around the business, but you're a kid. When did you in high school, did you think you were going to go do your own thing? Did you not see yourself getting into jewelry?
I always had one foot in, one foot out.
Okay.
And I can actually thank my parents for that, because it wasn't something that was forced on me.
Yeah.
They always wanted me to do whatever I would love to do in life. And I think it really started to, become an actual thing for me, where I thought that this was a business that I could see myself in when I went through GIA in New York.
Okay, so you graduate from Indiana.
Yeah.
You come home.
So after I graduated from Indiana, I was home for a couple months.
Okay.
And then I went right up to New York and started the second part of my GIA training. I actually took the diamond course going into senior year of college.
Okay.
So that was when I first started to get a love for it.
So
like I
explain
said,
to people a little bit about who don't understand the jewelry business, or might understand the GIA certification, but don't understand what it means to go be trained in it.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to diamonds and colored stones, that's like a very specific type of training,
Mhm.
and a lot of people really don't know about it. So like I see people every day coming in, and they're not educated. They don't really know about, diamonds and colored stones, and they have to go make a significant purchase, let's say for an engagement. So, especially for me, like I said, like I grew up in it when I was a kid, but, I didn't really work on a day-to-day basis within the business.
Sure.
As I got older. So I was a blank slate going into GIA.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids that were in my class were international kids. So it's a different type of, business when you grow up in wholesale, which is a lot of what the international kids were kind of growing up in.
Yeah.
So right out of the womb, they were already sorting through diamonds. Like they knew what they were doing. And I remember the first day when I was at GIA, they actually had us grading diamonds to see where we were at, to give us like a placement for each kid. And I had no idea how to use any tools. Didn't know how to pick up a diamond. And they're expecting me to put like this whole lab grading, performance together. And I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on. We go out for lunch. I kind of separate from the group. This is the first day. I called my dad and I'm like, what the fuck do you have me doing here? I'm never going to figure this out. And he's like, don't worry, you'll be fine. Like, you'll figure it out, blah, blah. And couple of weeks later, he came up. We were walking down 47th Street, which is the Diamond District in New York, and I was kind of like walking through the windows, like, oh, I was like, that's a GVS2, that's an FVS1, blah, blah, blah. And he stops and he's like, who are you and what'd you do to my son? That's kind of where I was like, wow, I guess I do know some stuff. And then slowly through GIA, you learn a lot about the details of actual diamonds and colored stones. Altogether, it's about an 8-month course. I was in New York for a total of about 1.5 years, but there's a lot of things that people don't know. Be comfortable with price point and all that other stuff.
So is that where you would say you kind of found your passion for the actual jewelry business, was while you were at GIA studying? Or was it like, what did you really fall in love with? Was it the idea of being in retail, high-end luxury jewelry, or was it the knowledge of the stone and being able to understand what you really represented?
It was more so working in retail.
Okay.
That's usually where I think that's where I really began to love it.
Yeah.
Well, when I first came back from New York is when we just opened up the Hard Rock store.
Yeah.
So, growing up and going into, the store in Weston, which is a very, it's a destination location. You have a lot of families coming in. So it's more of a friendlier environment.
Sure.
So when I first started working, COVID had just hit, and then we reopened after quarantine. And that's when I first started working in Weston, because you were open there first before Hard Rock.
Sure.
And I remember my first 3 weeks, it was a very slow paced store. Like, I'm a young kid out of college, like coming right from New York in the city. And I'm like, looking for fast pace, like a lot of stuff going on. And I remember like, it was about 3 weeks in, I was like, I don't know if like I can do this. Like, this is a much slower pace. And like, I need a lot to like, entertain me. And my parents were like, don't worry, you'll go to the Hard Rock. Like, you'll love it, whatever. So I remember it was like my 3rd or 4th day that I was here. I had an experience with a client that was like out of this world. Like, it's a completely different world at Hard Rock than it is in Weston.
Sure.
And that was kind of like an eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah.
And then from there on, like, every day I never know what's going to go on here.
Yeah.
I'm
sure you get a wide variety of people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's always a new experience.
Yeah.
So you get trained in the stones. You have an unbelievable education about what you guys have. You have experience, but then you get thrusted into being on your own in a store. I think that's kind of counterintuitive to what most people think about growing up inside of an entrepreneurial family or coming up inside of a family business, is that there's this nepotism and that you're kind of just given things and handed things. You've really had to earn your way into that store and learn how to manage and lead and also run the business on your side. What has it been like being young, being thrusted into that role with COVID, with all of the other things that you have going on, with the struggle for talent inside of retail right now? How do you manage all that at a young age and try to figure it all out?
Yeah, well, when I first started working in Weston, before I even came over to Hard Rock, that's when I first started, like, I guess, my training.
Sure.
And I would go and help a client that would come in, and then the client would leave, and my dad would come over to me and just grill me. Like, he's like a little more old school. Like, he'd be like, okay, like, you did this well, but you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. And like, he's not a very good, communicator when it comes to like trying to learn and teach someone how to do certain things.
Sure.
So that was like a 3-week time span of like trying to figure things out on my own. And then I moved over to Hard Rock, and I still know nothing. Basically thrown into the fire, trying to figure out how to do everything.
Yeah.
I think I called my dad about 40 times a day. And I asked like random questions about, some things were like important, some things were pretty stupid. I just didn't know how to do anything.
Sure.
And I was kind of afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah.
As time went on, I kind of realized, it's good to make mistakes because that's the only way that you'll learn and grow from them.
Sure.
And that's kind of what I explained to a lot of, our employees here. obviously, you don't want to make the same mistake multiple times, but at the end of the day, that's the only way you can learn and grow.
Yeah.
When I first started working at Hard Rock, I didn't want to come in and like you were saying, like set up a whole, like everything is handed to you and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I always explain to, our team here that, we're all on the same level here. I actually knew less than they did, even though I grew up in the business. So like when
sure,
you're
like
business,
I think that's some people who don't know your situation. Like you're running the store that's got retail sales associates in it that have been in the jewelry business for 30, 40 years. So they have more experience than you, right. Yet you've been put in a leadership role inside of that store. And, I've had the honor and the privilege to be able to work with you in navigating some of those things, but it's been super cool to see you succeed in it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I mean, even though I wasn't growing up inside the store, when it comes to family business and working in retail, it never stops. So I would go to school, I'd sit home on family dinners and the conversation was always work related. So even though I didn't think I was actually learning anything because I wasn't in the store, there was so much that I've learned through the years, probably since I was, 10 years old, about all these little things that I've helped to, use when it came to kind of training everyone. And it took me a little while to be comfortable in speaking to someone who has 30, 40 years of experience when they've been working longer than I've been alive. So like, it's hard to look at a young kid and listen to them. So I can definitely thank you for that in terms of, creating a good, operation and preparing me and helping me with certain conversations that are not always the easiest, but it definitely helped a lot.
It's my pleasure, and it's been my honor to have you on the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. You did an absolutely fantastic job. To me, the things you talked about, which were failing in order to learn, not being afraid to be uncomfortable and just getting in it and doing it. And ultimately what you just talked about of navigating that relationship with people that may have more experience than you, but understanding how to get on a level playing field with them and use them in order to be able to gain information and help the organization go forward is just great stuff. So congratulations to you. A reminder to everybody that next week is Valentine's Day. So if you are not prepared, you should stop by the Hard Rock and go see Jesse and Weston Jewelers, or if you're out in Weston, go see them there. Jesse, fantastic job. It's always my pleasure to be around you and work with you. Thank you for being a guest. Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down